Here at Be Freaking Awesome, we believe that life is too short to be anything less than extraordinary. Join us as we explore what it means to live authentically, grow continuously, and have a blast while doing it. Let's get started.
Welcome, everyone, to this week's very special episode of our podcast. We are very happy to be participating in the 4th edition of Podcasthon. This is an event where for 1 week, thousands of podcasters from around the entire world are participating in highlighting a charity of their choice. Today, we are going to be highlighting a charity that is very near and dear to our hearts, the League of Women Voters. Angela, if somebody doesn't know what the League of Women Voters is, would you mind giving us a little bit of a preview and overview of what this organization is?
Yeah, so the League of Women Voters was established just after 1920 when the 19th Amendment was passed to give women the right to vote. There were also a lot of organizations that kind of predate the League that were working toward that result, including something that was happening here in Washington County, Arkansas, so that when the League formed, we were actually one of the first chapters. We're super proud of that here in Fayetteville, and we're almost as old as the National League within like a month or so. So we're very proud of that. The League exists to protect democracy and empower voters. And so for me, what I love is that it is nonpartisan and that voting is universal. Like it should not be, there's not a political party that should be thinking that they are doing things better around voting. I think democracies only work because we vote, and it is our duty, our responsibility, is our privilege to be able to have a say so in government. This is more impactful. I know I said this in I probably will say this a lot in podcasts during this season, but I got to go to Athens and literally got to stand on the hill where they had the very first ever Democratic Assembly, and people got to vote on how the rules of Athens worked. And so they consider that the birthplace of democracy. And so for me, the League is here to educate voters. We make sure that like in the state of Arkansas, we pay attention to what the legislature is doing that could jeopardize people's right to vote or the ways that they vote. And nationally, they're tracking those things as well and supporting that effort.
So when you say that it is nonpartisan, I know there are some people that like to be political feels like you are being partisan. Can you, I don't know, expand upon your experience within the League and also tell us about what is your role right now? Because I don't
Sure.
know that everybody knows that,
Yeah.
in being political but nonpartisan.
Yeah. So political simply means we want to participate in the government.
Mhm.
And the way we want to participate means that we don't select one political party over another. So we want people to be active in government, but we're agnostic or nonpartisan with which political party that you are engaged with. I am the vice president of the Washington County League here in Arkansas. And the president, if you agree to be the president of a league, either at the state or local level, you agree to not run for office politically and not even donate to a political candidate that is running for a partisan race. And you can't post on your social media for any political candidate that would be partisan. So when you agree to be president, you agree to kind of a higher standard. Now, most of the people that are in on the leadership team, so
Mhm.
president, vice president, and secretary, we kind of all take that seriously, even though we're not required to. I also serve in Arkansas. We have the League of Women Voters of Arkansas, which is a membership organization that fights for the rights, that lobbies, that helps members um, register voters. And then they also have a C that is called a C4 arm and if you know things about how the IRS lets you be an organization, If you donate to the League of Women Voters of Arkansas, it's not a tax deduction because they can't do lobbying.
Mhm.
But we do also have a C3, that is the League of Women Voters of Arkansas Education Fund, and that is a C3 that allows us to collect money so that we can support the work within the legality of how the IRS allows us to do tax deductible donations. And I am the secretary on that board.
On the C4 board?
Yep. I am secretary on the C3 board. So we're the fundraising arm, I would say. And so I'm the secretary on that board.
So the league helps protect democracy. That seems like a tall task.
It is.
How do you guys go about doing that?
Well, one way, and I had never thought of this. So I've only been a member of the league this will be my 5th year in the league. I still feel new sometimes. Anyway, when the government passes laws that violate the Constitution, or the government does an action that violates the laws, someone has to hold them accountable. And the way that you hold the executive branch accountable in the United States is through the court system, um, through the courts, judicial system. And so the League of Women Voters, one of the things we fundraise for is to actually be able to sue the government when they violate their own rules. So in the city of Fayetteville, what that looks like, and I think we talked about this last year, so I'll just briefly, what that looks like is they had a tree ordinance, and then they built some things that violated their own tree ordinance. So the league sued them, and the punishment was that the city had to use city funds to buy urban forests to protect more trees. At the state level, what that looks like is the state will pass laws that violate the Constitution. And then we have to go to a court and ask a judge, can you tell them that was unconstitutional? Which, layman terms, I go, can you tell them that they broke the rules and that they're being stupid? What's beautiful is that this year, in the last 6 months, the league has won 2 of those cases. We lost 2 previously, but we got 2 different cases where we at least got the temporary injunction. Temporarily, the judge said, we believe this is going to be unconstitutional. We believe that it is making your life harder to collect signatures. So therefore, we're going to give you an injunction so you don't have to abide by that rule. And hey, we're going to hear the whole case next July. So it was cool to
I
do
want to
that.
take this moment for some people that I chat with that are like, man, politics is full of so much vernacular that
Yes.
doesn't make sense, or
It is.
you like it has a
Yep.
feels like it has a high bar to a high barrier of entry.
Yes.
If someone says that we are a litigious society,
Mm.
or that they are saying we need tort reform and blah, 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 both of those things, a litigious society means that we solve things through the court system, and that the way that you hold people accountable is you have to sue them. That is the way that the American government was set up, as that, yes, lawmakers absolutely are fully within their right to make a law that does not align with the state or national constitution. It's absolutely something that they are allowed to do in the first place. And there's some people who are like, why aren't we making sure that these laws are legal before we pass them? It's not how it was set up. It was set up so
You
that
would
then
think your elected representatives would ask that question before they pass the law.
there are times where people will pass a law to try to challenge an interpretation of
Yep.
different pieces within the Constitution, statewide or nationally, and they're doing it purposefully to try set up. We want to challenge this. We want to see, is this still the interpretation of this statement? And so tort reform, it's like people saying that there does need to be some type of reform on who can sue who for what and for how much,
Mhm.
because that in some ways people argue that this is why insurance and our healthcare system is largely has a lot of problems with it because you can be sued for anything by anyone. And so doctors now have to have significantly higher insurance to be able to protect themselves against lawsuits, medical malpractice lawsuits that may or may not be valid. Anyway, so all of these things work together, and having people who can afford and have the time and energy to be looking at these things and to be double checking the government, because the government is not watchdogging its own self.
Well,
And
and
yes.
with the government, you actually have to have standing. So, like,
Mhm.
somebody can't say, hey, that law is bad if it's not impeding them in any way. So,
Right.
you can't just go challenge if you say that, boy, they just messed that up. You have to have standing. You have to
You
be
have to have been
injured,
harmed in
harmed,
some way.
and yes, or injured in some way. And so that is one of the things about being a membership organization is we have over 400 members, and all of them is detrimental. And often in those cases, we have specific members that agree to be, I have been personally harmed. One of our lawsuits, we're challenging that a certain type of crime has been where um, you can't collect signatures for petitions if you've had this certain type of crime. And so for us to challenge that, we have to have someone that has, I want to collect signatures. And because when I was 19, I stole something and I've already paid my debt to society, and you're still holding it against me at 50 years old, things like that. So anyway, it's an interesting, I just had never thought about how do things get thrown out, get taken care of. And it's really, that is one of the most important ways that we protect democracy. The other thing, when it comes to empowering voters, we do a lot of work around registering voters. We went to a recent citizenship ceremony where there was over 100 people that became new citizens, and 47 of them had signed up to be registered to vote. And so we work those tables, we volunteer our time to make sure that kids that are graduating high school and turning 18, that they have an opportunity to register to vote, and work farmers markets, all of those things. So you can change your voter registration, really educating voters on what their um, opportunities are.
I feel like this is something that I also, just in my own personal time, am educating folks on, have you registered to vote? Sometimes there are deadlines that you have to register to vote so far in advance before an election. Some states have that, some states don't. You gotta want to make sure that your address is correct. You want to make sure there's lots of different things. And there's lots of stuff being talked about nationally about potential voter registration requirements and what all that can look like. So it's going to keep changing or be confusing at minimum to see what are the requirements and what does it take. So I love that. So you have suing people. You've got
Suing the government, not
I'm
people.
so sorry, suing the government. You've got signing people up to vote who
Yep.
are allowed to, citizens legal allowed to vote. We're not, no voter fraud here. Um, Number three, what else do you guys do? Do you have anything you guys are working on right now?
Yeah, we have two things that are, well, one thing that is consistent is that we do forums when it's time for there is a political race that is happening. It's very fun because right now there's been a video that's been going around the internet from the debate from Ronald Reagan and George W. Bush. And I'm excited because it's got League of Women Voters is the one who hosted that. And I think our world would be a better place if we were the ones hosting it instead of all the network news. But here locally, we do host candidate forums so that people have an opportunity to meet the people that are running and ask them hard questions. Our candidate forums here in Washington County in February, I'm super proud. I was traveling, but we had the highest turnout ever to those
Wow.
candidate forums. Yeah, and also had a great mix of cross the aisle people show up and actually debate, which was lovely and amazing. And then the thing that we're doing this year to really protect democracy here in the state of Arkansas is that dema- Arkansas is one of 17 states that has what's called direct democracy, And that means that citizens can actually amend the Constitution. In some states, citizens are allowed to change the laws. In some states, citizens can do a referendum, which is where lawmakers pass a law and all the citizens go, oh no, that's silly. We want to we want a referendum. We want to ask the voters what they think. So there's a lot of states that you can do that where they can kind of hold them accountable. But there's only 17 that allow us to do all three of those things, most specifically amend the Constitution. Now, in Arkansas, for 75 years, the court has held that if a citizen initiative was passed, the legislature is not allowed to change it. Makes sense, right? We people rule. That's
Hmm.
what we believe here. And um, recently, the Supreme Court in Arkansas overturned that. And so,
Mm.
what we are doing as the league is we have a ballot initiative. And that just means that we're going to put it on the ballot to allow voters to select, to decide, do you think that you want to actually continue to hold that right dear, or do you want to turn it loose and let the legislature roll back all of those citizens' initiatives? So in Arkansas, we have a very strong minimum wage. Ours was higher than the federal for a long time, and that's because of a citizen initiative. We have casinos, which generate sales tax dollars. We have horse racing. We have the highway commission because we were like, look, the government is not organized on how we take care of highways. So there was a citizen initiative for that. The Arkansas Game and Fish Commission was actually created because Arkansans wanted us to protect wildlife. And so there's all these things that now all of a sudden the legislature may have opportunity to change. And so we are gathering signatures. We have to gather 90,000, we'll just call it 91,000 signatures before July 3rd of 2026. And we're well on our way to doing that. And then it will go on the ballot, and the citizens get to decide how they want to govern themselves.
I love that. That's really cool.
It's very fun.
Um, what can people do to support or get involved?
Yeah.
Feels right. Okay.
Yep.
I love that initiative, Angela, and just trying to help stand up for the people within our state and our country and all of the things like that. I think that's awesome. What are ways that people can support the League of Women Voters?
For starters, while we are called the League of Women Voters, that's because we won the right for women to vote. We would love for all people. We really do support and defend all people, regardless of any discriminating factor. So men, you are absolutely welcome. If you are non-binary, you are absolutely welcome. We are for everyone. To support the league, anybody can become a member. Here's what's cool is that when you become a member of the League of Women Voters, you join locally, it automatically makes you a member of the state league and the national league. And so you really can be connected at whatever level, because what we're doing in Arkansas, people are doing in Alabama, and then the national league is also doing that at the national level as well. And so you can become a member. It's as little, actually, I think the minimum donation is $20. Recommended donation, $75. A portion of that goes to each one of those organizations. You can volunteer your time. If you are like, what? You can register voters. Yeah. If you just want to be able to go and hang out at places where there are potential voters and help them learn how to register to vote and make sure those get turned in, you can do that. Um, you can donate.
Yes, Henry? What?
When are you gonna be done?
Here, probably about 5 minutes.
Okay.
You can donate to the league. One of the initiatives that we hope to start this next year is the opportunity to help train, especially women, potentially young people, on how they can get involved in the government. And it may start with joining the library board or being on the parks board and then starting planning commission and then considering running for city council and sort of you've got to start getting experience getting involved somewhere so that then you don't just jump in and run for US Senate, right? And so we hope to start that and are looking for donors for that initiative and many other initiatives. We're very excited at the state. We've hired our first executive director, so we're finally staffed, and that has really exponentially improved how well we can be coordinated at the state level. I think it's helping a lot of our success right now.
I love it. If you could give an encouragement for people, maybe they're not going to join the league, maybe they're not going to donate, but like, stand firm for some of these philosophies. Do you have any like final remarks to encourage people right now?
Yeah, here's what I would say is that when you think about the the world that we live in, national politics is kind of discouraging for a lot of people, and there's a lot of things that we may feel like it's out of our control. But there is so much of your life that is actually handled at the local level. So when you have potholes in your road, you know who works on that? That's your county board, whatever it is in Arkansas, it's the quorum court. If it's in the city, that's the city council. You can talk to those people like they're real people. And we have seen elections won by less than 200 votes. There was actually a story of a person in Fort Smith, about an hour from where I live, that ran unopposed and lost because nobody voted for him. He did not even show up him own self to cast
Mm,
one single vote. And if you don't get one single vote unopposed, then you don't win. And so local politics matters a lot. Voting matters a lot. And I think we kind of skip over that. Oftentimes, we just finished our primary here in Arkansas, and some of those elections, because of the demographics of a particular area, it was won in the primary because there's not a lot of chance for the other party.
There are
And
also there were a lot of judgeships
yeah,
that were decided not in the primary for this one, but they were like it was their actual election,
yep,
and less than 100 votes
yeah,
between one candidate and another.
yeah,
You really have a say.
yes.
That is not that many people.
That's not yeah, so you
Mm-mm.
really have an opportunity. I have a friend that's moved here from Boston, and she says, a very active educated white woman in Boston is a dime a dozen because that's all you have. And
Mhm,
she said, but when you move to Arkansas and there's only 3.5 million people, like you can make a huge difference. Like
mhm.
you can actually make an impact because we have 4 chapters of our league. We're expanding into the Delta, we're expanding into Hot Springs. So we're really starting to get some momentum and you can make a huge difference. I mean, I know 3 million people can seem like a lot, but I mean, Dallas metro area is 6 million people,
Mhm.
and, like, making a change in some of those bigger states is just nearly impossible, but we have an opportunity that even if you do live in one of those bigger states, I guarantee you those local elections, those are the people that are probably impacting your life more on a day-to-day basis, and it's really, really critical.
It is. I will say my own personal mission for Arkansas is for us to not be number 48th in the country in voter turnout like we were in 2024. And so vote,
I do
vote.
have I'm super excited you brought that up because they recently, or in the last couple of years, they did a civic health index. And while we are typically number 50 the in our voter turnout, and there's a
Mhm.
lot of reasons for that, a lot, whether it's access to the polls, how much of our state is rural, the fact that it's hard to do mail-in ballots. There's a lot of reasons why that is. But they also measured, social connectedness, and we are in the top 10 in the nation of socially connected states. People
Fascinating.
feeling like they are connected to their neighbors, at whether of all political divides. And I
Hmm.
think some of that is because we're rural and because we all are living in a small town. I mean, if you live in a small town, we're
Well,
all cheering for the same basketball team, right? We're
even
going to
I have heard us say different people say Northwest Arkansas is one of the largest small towns you'll be in.
yeah.
Because it still feels like a small town in some different ways, even though it is.
500,000
it's not
people.
quite. Yeah. I was like, it's on track to become 1 million people by the next census. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's really important and it's super valuable to us and so important that it is worth us taking like a pause from regularly scheduled programming to tell you about this organization that you can get involved with nationally or locally, wherever you might be. So, thank you guys so much for participating with us in this special episode. It was a part of Podcasthon. If you are interested in learning about other charities, you can actually go to the website www.podcasthon.org. We'll put it in the show notes. And you can listen to other podcasts that are participating in this as well. There's a couple of other Arkansas podcasts I know participating and other people that we've gotten to meet from our podcast networks. And it's really a great opportunity for us to just take a moment and pause to say there are people doing really great work out there and we want to highlight them with our platform. So hope you all enjoyed this today. Thank you so much. And until next time, we hope you guys go be freaking awesome.